Okay, so in today's class, we will learn how the Docker container, Docker networking works, and how we isolate our Docker containers. So first, why we need a Docker? So suppose, so what is Docker? So basically, like give example. So virtualization is a technology. Okay, virtualization is a technology, and the VMware provide this technology. Like a cloud computing is a technology, and the AWS, Google, and Microsoft provide the cloud computing technology, and as well Docker provide you containerization technology where we host our application. Suppose if we use base OS and we have an option to host our application using base OS, but if you host your multiple application, suppose you have Python application in different version. If you install all the dependency in single base OS, you may be very chances to be conflict or versions in your applications. So now the Docker comes in this scenario. So basically Docker use your base OS machine resources and isolate all the containers. So how we use using the Docker networking to run our application. So let's see. So suppose we launch a sample container. So basically for in the networking, three types of networking in the Docker. So first networking is a bridge networking, and the second networking is a host networking, and the third networking is a non-networking. So no network is there in a non-networking. And the, if we talk about bridge networking, so by default, if you launch a Docker container, but you have not do not specify any network type, so by default your container will get bridge networking. Okay, so basically if you talk about host networking, so if we launch a container and using host networking, so our container networking based on our host machine. So how it works, let's see. Suppose if we launch our container with using non-networking, Docker run -it. So basically we tell to the Docker run a container, and the -it means go inside the container. -it means interactive mode. Okay, Docker run -it, then give the container name. So we give our none container. Okay, so currently we are using none networking. So Docker run -it -name. Our container name is none container, and we use -- network is equal to none network. Okay, so currently we are using our first networking none networking in Docker. Then specify your image name. So currently we are using Red Hat /UBI9. So basically Red Hat UBI9 is a universal base image of RHEL 9. So if we launch a container, so with using -it command, we go inside our Docker container, and the none container is our container name. Okay, and we are using none networking, and the base image is Red Hat UBI9, Red Hat universal base image. So now currently we are inside the container. If suppose if I want to see what is my container IP, now we use none networking. Okay, so if I want to see my container IP, so I use IPA command. So if you see, only loopback address is there. Okay, no network connectivity inside the container because of we use none network. It means no network connection inside our container. Only loopback address for is local testing. Okay. So go inside outside the container with using control plus PQ because of I do not want to stop my containers, and currently we are going inside the container with using of main process. Okay, if you exited right now, so we already exit. Okay, so let's talk about for the bridge networking. Suppose I launch a container. After this I will show you how the main process and the new process working in Docker container. If you exit, if you exit with using main process, your container will be stopped. Okay, we will learn after the networking concept. So let's launch a container with using bridge networking. If you run your container Docker, let's see our running container with using Docker PS. If you want to see your running containers, use Docker PS. So we have one running container, okay, none container with using none networking. Okay, so now we are launch a new container with using bridge networking. Docker run -it. Okay, we tell to the Docker CLI it launch a container with using -it. It means go inside the container with interactive mode and give the name to the container. Like currently we are using bridge networking. Okay, so bridge container. Okay, so now we are using bridge container, and you specify hyphen network. Okay, then we are using bridge networking. Okay, now give the image name. So we are using Red Hat UBI 9. Okay, Docker run -it means go inside the Docker container and in a interactive mode and give the container name. My container name is Breeze container, and with the use of Breeze networking, and the image name is Red Hat UBI 9. So our container is launched. If I see my what's the my container IP using IPA command, you will see one LAN card for the loopback address, and the second LAN card is bridge networking LAN card. Okay, so I got the IP 172.17.0.2. If I go outside the Docker container, so with using control plus PQ, I do not want to stop my container. Okay, now suppose I want to see my network series, and what's the bridge network provides this IP. So I use this command. First check the network, all the network in the Docker network ls. So we use bridge networking. Okay, we already launched a container with using non networking. So let's see the Docker bridge networking series. Docker network inspect. Okay, then use this. We see, so you will see the IP address. Okay, you will see the all the series 172.17.0.0, then slash, then 16. It means we have 256 into 256. We have two network bit and the two host bit in this series. Okay, so let launch a new container with using host networking. Now currently we are in our base source machine, not inside the container. Okay, if you see our all the running container with using Docker PS command, if you want to see your stopped container as well, use Docker PS-a. So you will see all the container. Okay, as well stopped container. If you see your host machine all LAN card, so first one is loopback address. Okay, then second one is your base source machine LAN card and the IP provided by your ISP or router. And third one is for the Docker LAN card. Okay, So if we launch a container with using host networking, so launch a new container. Docker run -it. It means launch a container with using interactive mode and give the name, like we give the name host host container. Okay, and use the networking like we use host networking. Okay, Docker run launch a container. Okay, name of the container is host container and the networking is host networking. Okay, and with using of UBI Red Hat UBI 9, Red Hat Universal Base Image 9, RHEL 9. Okay, so if we launch a container, so let's check the IP. So now you will see all the lane card using our host machine and provided by in our Docker container, because of we using right now networking, host networking. Okay, it means our host machine networking. So host networking shares share you host networking inside the Docker container. Okay, so go to the outside with using of control plus PQ because I do not want to stop my container. Okay, let's create a new scenario. Okay, if you want to see your running containers, use Docker PS. If you want to see your all containers stopped as well, use Docker PS -a. Okay, so we created a the container with using none none networking, host networking, and the bridge networking. Now, suppose you have an application. Okay, you have a database application you want to host in a container and the web application host in a container, but I do not want to share my database container connectivity with another container. Okay, so first launch a new container. Docker run -it. Now we are launching a new container. Okay, so Docker run -it name. We are launching a web container. Okay, for our web server, web app. Okay, so we give the name of web app. Okay, this container for our web server. Docker run -it name. Okay, now this time I do not specify any networking. If I do not specify any networking, by default your container will get default networking. And what's the default networking of the Docker? So default networking of the Docker is bridge networking. So now right now I'm do not specify any networking. So Docker run -it name, your container name, then use image Red Hat UBI 9. Okay, Red Hat Universal Base Image. Okay, now I'm in the inside the container. Go outside the container. If you see first, if you see the IPA, you will see you will get the bridge networking. Okay, by default, if you do not specify any networking when you are launching a new container, by default you get a default bridge networking provided by Docker. So go outside the container with using control plus PQ. After this Docker networking concept, I will show you how the main process and the new process working in Docker container. If you exit with using main process, your container will be stored. Okay, but in the new process scenario, your container will be running. Okay, so let's create a new container. Suppose this container, or I'll show you. Okay, now let's create a new scenario. Create a new container. Docker run -it name. We create a new container for our application and database. Okay, so we give the name test. Okay, test 1. We give this container name test. Okay. Now we do not specify any networking, so by default this will get default bridge networking and the use of UBI 9. Okay. Docker run -it -name test. Test is our container name. Right? Okay. This one is our image. If you launch a container, so now you are in the container. Okay. If you see, you will get the default bridge networking. Okay. Now go outside the container using control plus PQ. Now I'm launching a new container, but I launch a new container for my database. So I create a new network for my database because I do not want to share my any data with other container. Okay, and my connectivity with another container. Okay, because of data security. If I launch a new container, so first I need to create a new network, a new LAN card. Okay, so Docker network create. Okay, Docker network create, then give the network name. So I will give the my private net. Okay, I give the name private net. Docker network create, then I will give the private name of the my network name. Then hyphen subnet. Okay, so I give the series like 192.168.0.0, then 24. Okay, and I'm using bridge driver. Okay, so okay, now I'm using bridge driver. Okay, and the my network series is 192.168.0.0. It means we have a 3 network bit and 1 host bit, and we have 2 key power 8 IP. Okay, and the first IP is first and the last IP is not usable IP. Okay, all of you know, guys. Okay, so Docker network create, and this one is our name, and this is our series, and we use bridge driver. Okay, so if you see your network, create it, and if you want to see Docker network, inspect, then you will see your subnet, all your IP. Okay, driver we use using bridge driver. Okay, now this your series. Okay, suppose I'm creating a new container for our database. Okay, let's create a new container. Docker run -it -name db container. Okay, now we are launching a db container, for example. Okay, Docker run -it -name db container. Okay, now I'm specifying my network. Okay, so my network is private network. Okay, private net. Okay, I'm specify private net. Okay, and I want to my specify IP, so I use -IP 192.168. Like suppose I want to give 0.12. Okay, so Docker run -it, then give the container name, and what's your network? I use my own network. Okay, private network, and I'm using this IP 192.168.0.12. Then specify your image. Now I'm specifying my image Red Hat UBI 9. Okay, let's launch a container. Okay, now currently I'm inside the container. If you see my IP you will see 192.168.0.2. Okay, so basically this DB container has a different network compared than to default networking. Okay, and if I see, go to the outside this network, outside this container. Okay, not network. If you want to see your all running container, use docker ps. Okay, now we have two container. Okay, so basically this test container have default bridge networking provided by docker, and the IP is 172.17.0.2. Okay, and our DB container have different network. Okay, and IP is 192.168.0.12. Now both of these container have different IP and the different network series. Compare them to, okay, compare them to test and the DB container. Suppose our DB container IP is 192.168.0.12 and our test container IP is 172.17.0.2. Okay, go to the test container. So if you want to go inside the container, use Docker exec means you want to go inside the Docker. Docker exec means Docker execute hyphen it means go inside the Docker. And what's the name of the container? Our container name is test. Okay. Docker exec hyphen it means go inside the Docker with using interactive mode. Test, then give the shell. Now we are using Now we are creating a new process for our container. Okay, when you are launching a new container and an exact time you go inside the container, so you are using a main process. If you exit, your container will be stopped. But right now we are go inside the Docker container but creating a new process. Okay, Docker exec hyphen it, then test is our container name. Okay, and bash means we give the shell. And now we are creating a new process for our container. So I'm now inside my container. If I see my IP, so let's, okay, my container IP is 172.17.0.4. Okay, not 0.2. Okay, let's test if I'm able to connect with myself. So if I want to check, use ping command. Okay, I'm communicate with myself or no. Let's 172.17.0.4. But command not found. Okay, install the command. So install yum install. What's the package name of? Let's, if you do not know what's your package of ping command, use yum search ping. Let's wait for a few seconds. Okay, so what's the package? I think this one, IP utils. Okay, so install this package. Docker, sorry, yum. Okay, we are using Red Hat base image. Okay, so using yum. Okay, if you use Ubuntu, use apt. Okay, apt yum install, then use iputils.86_64, then -y. I do not want to give -y. Okay, but again, okay, so I'm using right now yum install iputils. So wait for a few seconds. After this iputils package installation, I'm checking if I able to communicate with myself or not. Let's wait. I think maybe the base was repository issue. Let's check. Oh, I think cannot download. Okay, check IP. Go outside the IP. Check. Oh, I think our connection is down. Wait, let's Docker and CLI connection show. Now I'm down to my connection. Now let's see our IP. Okay, everything is good. Okay, let's see our container. Docker PS. Okay, go inside our container. Docker exec hyphen it test then base. Go inside our container with using new process. Now you are inside the container. Yum install. Okay. Now let's install the package. Okay, so our package is installed. Okay. Okay, our IP is 172.17.0.4. Okay, let's communicate with myself. So ping 172.17.0.4. Okay, I am able to communicate with myself. Okay, let's try with DB container as well. Ping 192.168.0.12. Okay. If I'm trying to connect with DB container and the DB container have different network series, okay, but no response from that DB container because of different networking, and our DB container is safe. But if you want to communicate with your DB container, what can I do? Okay, so we want to attach a new LAN card, like we created a new network for the DB container and the same network. Now we want to connect with the test container. So let's connect. Docker network connect. Okay. Docker network connect. Then whatever network name like private net. Okay. Okay. I want to connect. Okay. Docker. We tell to the Docker network connect. Okay. Connect my network. Okay. With using private network. Okay. Connect my network with private network and this container. I'm tell to the Docker connect my network with private net. Okay. And my container name is test. If I run this command and let's go inside the container again. Let's see the IP of our container. So you will see, you will get the one more IP. Okay. From the private network. Okay. So now you have ability to connect with DB container. So let's try ping 192.168.0.12. You will see, you will connect to the DB container. Okay. 5 packet transmitted and 5 received. Okay. So how you communicate with your another network. Okay. I will tell you about how the main process and the new process work. So let's exit. Okay. So if you want to see your network, use Docker network ls. Okay. Okay. So I will tell you the main process and the new process, how it works. Suppose I'm launching a new container. Docker run hyphen it hyphen name, then give the Like I'm trying main process. Okay. Main container. Okay. Then give the image name Reddit UBI 9. Okay. Docker run -it means launch a container in the interactive mode and give the container name is a main container with using Reddit image. Okay. Reddit UBI 9 universal base image. Suppose I'm launching a container. Okay. Now you are inside the container and now I'm inside the container with using main process of the container. If I'm exit right now, if I'm try to exit right now, my container will be stopped. Let's see. Okay. Let's see our whole container. You will see no container is there. The name of main containers. No container is there. And let's see with Docker ps-a because our container is state of currently now is stopped. Okay, you will see your main container is exited 20 seconds ago because of you killed the main process of your container. And the what's the main process of your container slash bin base? You kill the shell. Okay, suppose I am going my inside the container. Suppose Docker ps go inside the container and anyone. Let's use none container. Let's use web container. Okay, Docker exec-it web app, then bash. No such container. Web. Oh, sorry, I gave the wrong name. Web app. Okay. Now I am inside our container. If I am exit right now, if I am trying to exit right now, my container will be running. You will see. Let's try to see Docker ps. Your container is running because of you do not kill the main process. We entering inside the container with using new process, not the main process. I will give you one more example. Suppose now I'm using a Nginx image. Docker run -d. Okay. Hyphen name Nginx container. Okay. Then use Nginx image. Okay. Docker run -d. -d means detach mode. Okay. Run the container in the detach mode. If you see your container is no Docker ps. Okay. Your container is running. Okay. Docker container. If I'm trying to enter inside the Docker container, Docker exec-it, then nginx con, then bash. Okay. Docker execute -it means in the interactive shell, and the name of the container is nginx con, and give the shell of bash. Now, wait, I think Docker exec-it, no such container. Nginx. Okay, I give the wrong container c1. Docker container. Okay, now I am inside the Docker container. No, I am now inside the Docker container, but creating a new process. Okay, give the new shell and create a new process. If I am exit right now, let's check the container state. Docker ps. Okay, you will see your container is running Nginx container. Okay, uptime is about a minute ago. Okay. So if you enter in a Docker container with using main process, and if you exit to the container, your container will be stopped. But if you are inside the container with using new process, your container will be running if you exit. Okay, let's give you one more example. If I am going to like, let's use none container. Okay, docker attach. Okay, now I am in the none container. Okay, let's exit to the container. Let's see our old running container. You will see your none container is stopped. Why? Docker ps hyphen a for the stopped container as well. Exited 11 seconds ago. Because of you go inside the container with using main process. Okay, docker attach. So basically docker attach command gives you the main shell. Okay, so your container, now you are going to inside the container with using main process, and if you exit, your container will be stopped. I will give you one more example. Docker exec hyphen it. Let's take another running container, bridge container, bridge container, then dash. If I, now currently I am using docker attach bridge. Okay, docker attach bridge container. Now I am inside the container. If I am write this command exit, so your container will be stopped. But no, I am do not using exit, I am using control plus pq. So escape to the container, you will see read escape sequence. Okay, if you see the container docker where the bridge container, you can add this one, your container state is running. Okay guys, I think all of you guys have understand how the Docker networking and the network isolation work, and the Docker main process and the new process work.